Today we got a real special guest. We got Rick Johnston here, and he was the guy I bought this truck off of about 5-6 years ago, and
Oh, more like 8.
more like 8 years ago.
Yeah, time flies when you're having fun.
Before Edison Motors, before any of social media at all, bought this truck, fixing it up, and never would have believed it would have turned into this.
No, from what I drove into this yard to what it is today, there is no comparison at all.
Yeah.
It is absolutely phenomenal what you've done.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and there it is now. It's a electric truck.
Would have believed.
Diesel electric. It just blows my mind.
I think old Johnny Joe would have known back in '62 that this truck would be the first electric.
Nobody would have ever thought about it. I'm Richard Johnston, but I go by the name of Rick. And the reason I'm related to this truck, I owned it for a short time, approximately 8-10 years. But before that, Johnny Joe, a First Nations person from towards the other side of Merritt, he bought this truck brand new, and he'd worked for my dad in the 50s. This being in '62, after my dad was gone, he came and got my dad to co-sign for this truck, but at that time, a First Nations person could not get a loan from a bank to buy a piece of equipment or anything. They had to have a white man sign for it, which was dumb. My dad signed for it, never heard a word from a bank or anything. It was paid off in full. Worked for years, probably 40 years, the last time it really worked. When I bought it, when I introduced myself to him, he sold it to me because of who I was, and I drove it to Cawson, BC, and it sat there, and I played with it a little bit, not much, and the young fella here, Chace, come along and bought it off me, so I drove it up here for him. And here it is now, and look at what he's done to it. I hope he's got pictures of when it came into the yard.
So Johnny Joe then worked for your dad for the logging outfit.
Yeah.
For your dad's logging company, and then your dad co-signed then, or?
Dad is gone. We were in the Okanagan, or Smokey by that time, and Johnny came and visited with my dad and mother and asked if Dad would co-sign for him to buy this truck. And Dad said, well, give me a night to think about it. They were staying in town anyhow. And as soon as he left, I remember this, I was pretty young. My mother said, Dad, you can co-sign for Johnny. It didn't matter when his paycheck come out, he was always there. There was never a problem. Dad co-signed for it, never had a problem.
So Johnny never missed work?
Never missed work. No, he didn't have a problem that way.
Back then, it had an old 335 Cummins with a 15 speed in her, and I was gonna do her up.
I was looking for the auxiliary. I couldn't find it. The auxiliary was existing for this, and Dennis Harris from here in town.
Yeah.
He went out, he knew the transmission was out there, he went out and got the auxiliary transmission and scrapped it. I was so mad at him over that.
Oh, I bet. I found an auxiliary though. It's that we put the auxiliary back in this thing because I went and got the auxiliary because I was gonna make it a 15 with a 4-speed, a 15 over with an overdrive to give it a double over on that, and I was gonna put a big cam 4 in her. You know, I never would imagine, 6 years ago now or so that this thing would have been. Like at the time, Edison Motors wasn't on the radar. I just love classic trucks. I seen this truck. I'd been one of those things you see in Karamias driving by, and I seen it on.
Yeah, but you didn't see it driving by. Somebody put it out on, and I really didn't have it for
no, I've
sale.
seen this thing driving by for years.
Okay, it's out there on the main highway, yeah.
And then somebody sent me a message and be like, hey, this guy wants to sell that old thing. You love old trucks. And yeah, sure enough, next day, drove to Karamias, and Rick fired it up and drove this thing home.
I drove it home from Spence's Bridge, and then I drove it back from Karamias, Cawston, to here. That was quite a trip. I wish we'd had that on the video.
Me too. That was before I ever put a video out on social media when I was just playing around. And could you imagine 6 years ago this truck would have been electric? Like
not in my wildest imagination. I would have never thought of that.
Huh. Well, what do you think of it?
I think you've done a wonderful job. I know that you've raised the cab and the rad and all that. And I think you just went hog wild on it. It's just great.
Oh, thanks, thanks. Oh, we always get those comments of, you ruined the truck. That
How
truck's
did you
ruined.
ruin the truck? That's what I'd like to know. You've made it look really good. You made the headache rack look on it. I know it's got a driveline problem because it's just got too much power.
Yep, it does, it does.
Yeah.
But it's, when we got this truck, it was a little rough.
Oh, yeah.
She definitely took 3-4 months of just straight work just to get her back into this condition here. And,
yeah, it's been around.
Well, I remember it still had the slip there from whoever was hauling last, and it still had a slip in there from the 2000s for some delivery. There's paperwork from 98, 99, 2000.
That was probably when it had the cattle deck on it.
Yeah, it had a some kind of livestock slip, and it had some kind of timber slip on it. There was timber slips in there from the 90s, 80s, and then there was another bill of lading for something else. So
he blew the transmission, the main transmission. That's why he put the 15 over in it. When he didn't understand the 15 over will only go so fast with the rear ends that were in it. So he took the auxiliary out. Then the truck would only do 48 miles an hour, flat out.
It's true. It did not go fast. With it had the old Rockwell top loaders with like an 8.6 reduction or something like that. That without that double over of the auxiliary, you couldn't get her to 100.
No. And that's kilometers an hour, not miles per hour.
No, yeah, I think that she had a top speed of 60.
Probably when it was new, it probably would have done about, I would say 58 to 62 miles an hour.
Okay, that's 100, but with the auxiliary out of that, driving that thing, I remember following you, that was 60 kilometers an hour.
Had a bad air leak, I had to watch the air, and you couldn't shift it properly. Wouldn't go into low range or into high range, it was just direct.
It was just plugged. I had to take the little fitting off of that. There was a little bit of dust or whatever blocking the return line off of the,
yeah. Well, I should have checked into that, but you know what? I was busy doing other things, and this was just, well, I've got it. It's not going to rot away. You look at it, it's all steel.
No, it was definitely well built back then.
I see it's still got a serial number in it, eh?
It's still got the original VIN number in the bumper there,
That's quite something when you think about it.
Yeah. Well, it's cool to be able to come out here and check it out now.
Oh, it is. It's just, you know, I come along and I walk around and I look at this truck and I think, I think to myself, what a wonderful job you've done. You know, you've really done something.
Thanks.
As far as I'm concerned, it's quite, it's awesome.
I'm so proud of what we've managed to do with this thing. These old trucks are beautiful. They they don't make them like this anymore. They need to be saved. They need to be preserved.
There's very few of them left. They've all went to the scrapyard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's sad.
It is.
Yeah. And now you look at the brand new Kenworth, I think they're ugly.
They're pretty well ready for the scrapyard 2 or 3 years.
The day they come out of the factory.
Well, if this thing still had slips from 2001, that means that this truck was out hauling for over 40 years.
About 40 years.
Yeah.
62 to 2001. 39 years, I'd say,
eh? 39 years, 40 years. 40 years this truck went to work.
Yeah.
That's you're not going to get that.
That's incredible. Of course, those rear ends that were in it were not the original rear ends. You know that, eh? You knew that.
No.
Oh, you didn't notice? I don't know. You've changed some work on the frame, haven't you?
Yeah.
So you can't see it, but they had the frame knots for the suspension it had.
Yeah, because this one's been swapped out. We went with the airliner.
Yeah. Makes sense to me to do that. And it seems to me you put the auxiliary farther back. The auxiliary I thought was up right here.
Yeah, the auxiliary used to be up here. So that cross member there that's holding the auxiliary was actually up here.
Okay.
But mounting the electric motor, we had to kind of swap the cross members. So this cross member went back, that cross member came forward, that cross member is now holding the steady bearing. So it's, you're right, that's 180.
Yeah, okay. Because I was sure the auxiliary should have went right in here. It just had a little short drive shaft in there, and that's probably it, eh? No, you built that.
Yeah, that's a drive shaft we built, because the auxiliary would have been up here, and it would have been the drive line from the transmission to the auxiliary.
And then there was a steady bearing and a drive shaft, and then your main drive shaft back, your slider shaft.
Yeah, the steady bearing would have been right in the middle there.
Yes.
That's right. And it was a different steady bearing, because it was the one where the steady bearing is inside the cross member.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I remember that. It's a lot of things, you get your mind going again, and you still got exhaust pipe on.
For the cat.
Oh, that's for the cat, right. Now, you're going to run that down and put a muffler into it, or?
Yeah, I want to run a nice stack. Now that we're done the show, and people are, why does the electric truck have a stack? I think this thing would look
I think it would look awesome
with a set of pipes.
Yeah. They'd say, well, it's an electric truck. Why does it have a stack? Well, it's got a diesel engine to run it.
Exactly.
This is quite a thing.
I'll grab the iPad and we'll see if we can fire her up. The computer programming is all on the tablet.
Used to have a bar right here, didn't it?
It did, yeah. It did. I got a little secret hidden switch here, but if we, make sure that's not down. So right there is your drive.
Okay.
And now you can just step on the throttle.
This blows me away. It just does. Last time I drove this truck, it made a lot of noise.
Sure made a lot more noise than it did now, yeah. And you can put it in reverse right there on the,
just let me drive it has made my day, made my year. Thank you very much for letting me drive it.
Of course.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to fire the diesel engine up, eh?
And, it doesn't need to run. It only is there in case we got enough battery, and we've got 90% battery life.
Okay, that's quite something.
So I don't even need it runs fully electric until your battery gets a little low.
You've still got the Kenworth tag, eh?
Yeah.
Made in Vancouver. It's such a great day to learn all this stuff about this old truck. I'm really impressed.
Oh, thanks.
I couldn't be more impressed. I'm so glad that you're the guy that come and bought it.
I'm glad you sold it to me. I'm glad you sold it to me. I don't think you wanted to sell it.
Not badly, no. I was a little short of money right there. That's the only reason I sold it.
Well, glad you did, anyways.
Yeah, I'm glad I did too. Now I am. I'm really glad.
Well, I remember you were worried. You didn't want somebody to part it out.
No.
You asked me like 7 times. You're not parting it out, are you?
Yeah, and if I thought you were parting it out, I wouldn't have sold it to you. As simple as that. And you did part it out, but you put it all back together.
I guess we did part it out a little bit. Yeah, we did part a little bit out.
You changed it.
We upgraded the drive line. Brought it to the 21st century, I guess.
Yes, you definitely did that.
Oh, good. Ray's got a couple hats for you.
Thank you, sir.
One, and there's a bunch more for the road there.
I got a small head.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Stop by anytime.
And I'm going to be by quite often watching your stuff. And I know that you're going to want somebody to drive this truck to Terrace.
Yeah, we need someone to, you got the job, Dan, if you need her driven.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed our Edison Motors video, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Don't forget to hit the notification bell for more updates. And follow us on Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram.